ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus. And I want to take this little bit of time to see if I can talk to you just a little bit more. You know, my major concern has been, ever since I was 28 years old, well, should I say all my life, is to see that people got a chance to enjoy this life without the pain and suffering that has been coming with it. And yet, committing myself at the age of 28 to live to see that end has been quite disappointing. When I was growing up, I realized that people did not see God as the kind of God that would prevent slavery, that would encourage people who were being beaten down and to the level of a slave to stand up, or those who were putting their foot on them, treating them in the position of a slave to take their feet up. And yet, all the while, going to church talking about God and reading about God. So I have concluded that people who talk about God really don't know God. In this book that they use, a Bible, which kind of refers to a personage of God, but does not enable people to understand the message of God. And so they read a book and say God is love, and they say God is love, God exists, and they say God exists, and that means they know God. But this is not true. And the evidence of it is that ever since America has existed, we've been going through this God thing, and God has never come to any fruition. Except preachers who talk about God, they have been reduced to talking about an afterlife, talking about getting you into heaven. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I was told, even in the book that they used, that though they had personage in heaven, that didn't prevent corruption. And after putting people in the garden, that didn't prevent corruption. And we have people here today, and it hasn't prevented corruption. So the effort of talking to people about going back to heaven doesn't make any sense to me. I think if you're going to do what is good, then you do it wherever you are. And if God demands good, it's good for the sake of just being good, true. And that same book says that no man can serve two masters. They cannot serve God and the anti-God. And we know that the world that we live in is anti-God. I mean, we say that America itself is anti-God. And the evidence of it is the rich beyond measure and the poverty beyond measure. We see the crime and the violence that comes from the conduct of this nation, and we don't know what to do about it. Make a long story short, ladies and gentlemen, some of us do know. And having spent out 33 years trying to draw some real attention to that cause and having no effect, I have decided not to stop, but just to put my emphasis on God. In the past, I must admit that I have put a little bit more emphasis on respecting you. In other words, God has given me certain things to tell you. For instance, in the 90s to tell you, well, in the 80s, to tell you that you were on the path to hell. And I just couldn't tell you that because I knew you wouldn't like that. And so I changed it to say, walk through life from hell to paradise. That is not what God told me to tell you. That was me trying to fix it up. And in reality, after all those years have passed, I still find that you, the American people and people of the world, are on the path to hell. And so what I have wanted to happen, I have wanted preachers to support the cause of life, to support the cause that God is the only master, and for those who say that they understand God, that they choose God, that they would let God be their master, and God is love, so that they would be elements of love to eradicate the pain and suffering, to eradicate the poverty. But that's just all in my head. The world doesn't see it like that. So I'm not going to approach it that way anymore. As far as I'm concerned, right now, where I am, nobody knows anything truthfully about God but me. And I'm not talking about what I read. Many of you know what you've read, but I'm not talking about what's read. I'm talking about what God has given you. And so right now, I speak for God. I love you people, and that's why I'm going to tell you the truth as God has given it to me. Stop going to these churches, because they are nothing but tombs that's designed to keep you dead. I don't care how rich you are. When you go to church, you ain't giving up no money beyond your taxes. I don't care how poor you are. You go to church, you're not gonna stand up for nothing. You go to church poor, and your conversation that you got there did not give you any information or any inspiration to get out of that poverty. And vice versa, those who are rich, no conversation helps you to say, well, I'm going to liquidate my assets and see if I can do something to make the world better for all. No, all that's a stone gas. So I'm going to tell you right now, in my estimation, and it's just mine, is that every last American will pay for their conduct. Whether they say they believe in God or not, you will pay for your conduct. But I will tell you that God exists. And all of the resources that humankind needs to do the things that they think are important has been provided. It was provided for by God. I had my son, I was telling him some stuff about this the other day. And he said to me, well, maybe there is no God. And my response to that is to say that there is no God is to say that you were born without parents. Every human being on this earth today exists because of parents. The earth exists and all human beings exist because of a parent, and that parent is God. Now, we as people, we don't know anything about that. We haven't gone to the, or should I say, you haven't gone to the mountaintop. You haven't seen the burning bush. You haven't taken your shoes off because you're standing on holy ground. These are things that you have not done. Moses did that in the midst of trial times, when people were going through extraordinary changes, believing in God, but nobody had the backbone, the love of God, the courage of God to stand up and represent God. And that's what's happening today. I guess there's really no reason for me to be angry. You are what you are. You are the devil's children. You are, let me say that one more time, you are the devil's children. Now, who am I speaking of? I'm talking about everybody who does not commit their life to make the world better for all people. Now, I'm not talking about commit your life to God, because committing your life to God and not caring about people don't mean a thing. Care about people, and God accepts that as your love and respect for Him. Poverty exists. You sit back and say, get them a job. That's because you're blind. Satan is your dad. And anything like that. I wanted to get deep into this, but I got to get back to work. My lawnmower stopped on me, so I got to cut this grass with the, what they call this? A weed whacker. I got to do it. It's very important. So I'm going to put on hold for this, and I'm going to put it on the YouTube. I want everybody to see it. I want all of these preachers who I love, who churches I visited, spoken at. But I want you to know that I love you, but I'm not going to cater to your conversations any longer. If I come in your church and you talking a bunch of whack that's messing these people's minds up, I'm going to tell you. I might start off initially telling you after service. But if you keep on doing it, I'm going to stop you in your service, because it is time you stop playing games. You don't know God, so stop talking about God. Stop talking about God. Bye-bye.